All right, lads and lasses, and good day, mates. Welcome to the latest episode of the Toon Under podcast, the original and best Newcastle United focused podcast in the entire southern hemisphere of this little blue marbling floating around the space that we call home. We'll see you in court. So my name's Lee. I'm joined today by Craig up in Cairns. How you going, Craig?
Good about yourself?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. And the late addition to the team is Jack. How are you going, Jack?
I'm champion. Just about peeled myself off the ceiling from the game 2 days ago.
Aye, well, as it turns out, we were all watching it live, but Craig and I were on the live stream. Is anyone caught up with the sleep yet? Because it finished, the stream was on for like 3 hours. We didn't finish till 3:30 in the morning. How are you feeling, Craig? Because that was a long one, wasn't it?
I didn't get to bed until well after 4 o'clock, and maybe 4 hours kip, and not much to follow either. So I'm still feel like I've been on a long plane, heavily jet lagged, but you know, I'll get there. It was worth it though, absolutely worth it.
Oh, it was cracking, wasn't it? Jack, I mean, obviously you got a burn and all that. How did the Sunday go for you?
Yeah, it was hard work. I've got some messages from our WhatsApp group, and it was at about 2:57 a.m. I think it was, and I was messaging saying I really need to go to sleep, but I just don't think I can.
Aye.
So yeah, it was. I tried to get a couple of hours beforehand. That's my new tactic these days for the games in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And then after the game, I managed to probably go to sleep about 4:30 until I got woken up by my toddler, who wanted me to look after her. So I had to go do that.
Aye, it's just the best. Kind of, it's just awesome.
They don't get it, do they? They just don't get it.
Nah, they're little shits. I was absolutely wired afterwards. It took me ages to get back to kit. Just lying there thinking, oh, go to sleep, man. And my brain's just thinking about the crowd and all that, and the victory. And it was class, man. Absolutely class.
I was saying to Craig just before, I can't remember actually watching us win a game in the middle of the night. It must have happened a couple of times before, but I just haven't been watching many of them sort of over the last few years. So
yeah, I'll be honest,
to actually watch one in the night and have a win, it's not good for sleep, but it was good.
I can't remember the last time I watched a game where we won, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
My memory doesn't go that far back.
Days ago, apparently.
How many?
156.
Oh, that's just nuts, isn't it? But anyway, Craig and I and Bobby pulled the straw at the hat and managed to get the victory, the first one of the season. So that was awesome. All right, so today, we're going to be talking about that game. The long-awaited, at the 15th attempt, victory for Newcastle United. It was against Burnley. It was 1-0. And we're going to get into that just after this short break. So here we go with the review of the Burnley game, the victory, the 1-0. Sensational Mighty Mags 1-0 win. So I'll start with the teams. It was Dubravka in goal. Manquillo, Lewis, Lascelles, Shaw. Then it was Willock, Shelby, Almiron, and Joelinton. And then it was Alan Saint-Maximin and Wilson up top. Subs were Darlow, Ritchie, Hayden, Hendrick, Kraft, Gale, and Sean Longstaff. For Burnley, it was Pope in goal, Lawton, Taylor, Collins, future Newcastle defender Tarkowski, if you believe the press, Goodmanson, Westwood, Brownhill, McNeil, Wood, Cornet, and that was it. And their subs were Cork, Hennessy, Lennon, Peters, Long, and Thomas. Might as well start with that team lineup then, boys. So my thoughts about that starting lineup. There was no Ferdinand in the starting defence. I expect him to be in. I mean, he did have a bit of a probably unexpectedly long game against Norwich after Kieran Clark had his brain fart and got sent off. But I still expect him to be in. He's definitely our best defender at the club, I think, by some distance. But having said that, Shaw got the assist for the goal. So, and it was
classic
a beautiful
assist.
Let's not mince around the words here. It was a fantastic assist. I was kind of expecting to see Hayden in the middle because I was thinking we'd need a bit more protection rather than what Willock will give you. But then Willock made the cross into the box for the goal. So again, would that have happened if it was Hayden? And in any event, most of the game the ball was lobbing over the midfield anyway, so Hayden probably would have just been in defence, And then the only other surprise for me was that there was no Fraser. I was fully expecting to see Fraser on that starting 11. We weren't sure at the time, Craig, were we, what was going on with that particular mission?
Yeah, I think we had someone in the live chat confirm he was injured. Hamstring, I think.
I looked into that just before this, and he did have a minor pull on his hammy, apparently, from those intense 9 minutes against Norwich. He is a bit injury prone these days, you have to say.
He hasn't played much football.
He hasn't. Got to be fair with that. But he is expected to be in the team for the Leicester trip, according to the Ronnie Gill. So I'll start with you, Jack. What do you reckon that lineup? Any surprises for you?
I think the big one was Lascelles coming back in. So everybody, I think, wanted Fernandes to start. I think there's kind of widespread acknowledgement that he is our best defender. But I think there was an expectation that Lascelles is the captain, that he was going to come back in. I thought potentially he might play instead of Shah, because Shah sometimes can struggle against kind of long balls in the air, and I think we knew Burnley were going to do that a lot. But at the time, I was happy enough for Lascelles, but I did want Fernandes to start. I think he's probably earned that, and it's been a surprise he hasn't played too much. But at the end of the day, it was the right call, you know. Fernandes came on for us in the last kind of couple of minutes when we were under siege a little bit. Yeah. And he contributed. And Lascelles had his best game for a long time. So I think it's amazing that Eddie Howe knows more about football than me, but there you go. It's the way it goes.
Oh, all of us, aye. Who'd have thought that?
I think, and the other thing was just that Almiron started. I've been kind of hoping for a while that we would see Miggy, and I think he's probably an Eddie Howe kind of player. He's full of running and energy, and he's obviously quite good at pressing. Maybe if Fraser was fit, he wouldn't have started, but I think he really did it. He contributed well, and I think he's probably the kind of player that Eddie's going to like moving forward.
I think the one thing about Miggy that you won't get from Fraser is that you'll get 90 minutes of just running, non-stop running, box to box, wing to wing, all over the place, running non-stop. And you won't get that from Fraser, like I say. You know, you can only really do half a game at this point in time, if even that.
Miggy's like one of those wind-up toys, isn't he? He's on a spring. He just gets wound up before the game, and he just lets go, and he just runs and runs. He's great. I wish he had an end product. You know, it just seems like that's the thing he's really needing, is an end product where you can actually kick the ball in the goal. He had a chance. We'll get into this when we go through the main events. He had a chance and it was blocked. So he is getting in positions, but I think he just kind of loses his shit. You know, he's just like, oh my God, I'm going to score a goal. And then, you know, fluffs it or whatever. That's what happens. If he did have the end product, he probably wouldn't be playing for us in the first place, I think, because he does have the other attributes that, you know, Champions League teams might like. He's got a lot of attributes there. But, yeah, we can't maybe sign players at that level just quite yet. So we make do, but I think he'll be a useful player.
Craig, did you have any thoughts on that lineup yourself?
Just what Jack said about Miggy coming in. I do think, again, if Fraser was fit, he would have been there straight away. I personally prefer Miggy over Fraser. Again, like I said, I think he just offers more for the full 90 minutes. And he's a bit more versatile as well. He can play him probably across the whole of the middle and maybe even as a number 10 at a push. Whereas Fraser, he's got to stick him on the wing and hope for the best. Got a cracking cross on him, Fraser, but that's about it.
He does have a very good cross on him, actually. Yeah. And we don't have many people, I think we said this in the last party, we don't have many players who can do a good cross. You know, Matt Ritchie and Murphy. Yeah, Murphy, who's not getting a game. And maybe sometimes Manquillo, if he's kind of got enough space and time to think about it, he can sometimes get something in there. But yeah, I think definitely Fraser's the main one for crossing. Formation, I think, was reported as a 4-4-2, but I think you said, Jack, was more like and I think Bobby said this during the live stream, it was more like 4-2-3-1, and I guess that's like the 3 at the back and 2 on the wings that will come backwards. Do you reckon that's how it was for the majority of the game?
I think when you're attacking, it's kind of like a 4-2-3-1, but then you've got Joe Linton who goes up front sometimes as well. So I think we'll probably need to get away a little bit sometimes from being stuck on set formations, because the modern game doesn't seem to work like that. I think that the fluid, you know, I was listening to the new Man United manager Ragnick earlier talking about this, and he just said you pick the players in the best positions, but he's not set on a definite formation or system, because the journalist was saying, what about the 4-2-2-2 or whatever they said he was playing? and he's just like, that's not how we think, So, and I think Eddie Howe's kind of like a progressive manager like that as well. So he's not set to like 4-4-2 like back in the day. Everyone had to play 4-4-2, and then that went out of trend, and it went to 3 at the back. So I think we'll adapt depending on who we're playing against and who we've got available. And I think that's the way you have to be in the modern game. And I trust Eddie Howe completely to do that and get it right. So
yeah, Craig, anything to add to the formation from your side?
Nah, I think the only thing would be, looks as though Alan St. Max manager given a free role, play where he wanted to. He was on the left, he was on the right, through the middle, and I think that worked for him. Whereas I think last game he was mainly just tied to that left hand side and wasn't really allowed to drift. But I was given more of a free role this game, and it worked wonders. So,
all right, cool. So I guess we'll just get into the main events of the game. I mean, for the first 5 minutes, not much really happened. It was very much back and forwards in the middle. It was kind of bouncing around, a bit of ping pong, feeling each other out. And then the first kind of notable event really was a ball's played forward from Newcastle. It's into the box, into Burnley's box. Taylor's chasing back the ball as Miggy's coming onto it. I don't know if it was a free kick exactly, but Taylor basically gave Miggy a bit of a challenge. Miggy went down and nothing was given, but it really set the stall out that, because all the way through the game, Taylor, especially in the first half, there was a bit of a running battle between Miggy and Taylor. And it seemed like that first event there sort of gave Taylor the thought that, hey, you know what, if I can get away with it already in the first few minutes and I'm in my own box, and on another day that might have been against us, I might as well just keep on trying, basically. And I think it was really getting on the crowd's back as well, wasn't it, during the game?
Yeah, him and Miggy were bitching at each other all game, really. They were nipping at each other and kicking each other, and I thought Miggy was going to get booked early on, but he wasn't. But yeah, it was quite entertaining to watch that.
And then not long afterwards, actually, Cornet gets a shot off at goal. He's kind of just outside the box, and he sort of turns Lascelles, and he moves the ball this way. He spins around. Lascelles is still going that way. He opens up a bit of space in front of him, but managed to shoot wide. And I'm thinking, oh, we're getting a bit of a warning sign here from Burnley. They're already kind of finding that space. And Cornet, I think you'd have to say, was their main threat, wouldn't you? I mean, I know they have Chris Wood as well, but Chris Wood's pretty hit and miss, you'd have to say. Cornet is kind of the striker at the minute. So that was a bit of an early warning sign. And then on 8 minutes, there's a free kick to Burnley. It's about 25 minutes out from our goal. And there's a wall. You got the wall there. And I don't know who took the free kick, but he whacks it right into Wilson's claims. Like, goes right in it just goes smacking right into his bollocks. And Wilson's down. He's like, oh, Jesus. And I think he tried to run it off or something. I can't quite remember what happened, but no, he had to get some treatment, I think, didn't he? Because he took that right in the pods.
Yeah, he was in some discomfort.
I think you and I both winced during that moment in the live stream, didn't we, Craig?
We did. I've had it happen to me a few times when I used to play at school, and it doesn't tickle, that's for sure. No,
anybody likes a ball in the bollocks. Let's be honest.
It was a cold day. It was a cold day in St James's Park as well, so that wouldn't.
It wasn't after that for him. No, it wasn't after him. It was absolutely boiling for him after that. So then on 12 minutes, there's what looked like a dodgy tackle, I thought, by McNeil on Lewis down the left wing. Now it was given. The crowd's going absolutely mental because, so far all the decisions have been going to Burnley. We haven't had anything really at this point. Here's our lad getting splattered on the wing. Burnley still have the ball. It comes into the box. Dubravka, I don't really want to go on about this like in every single podcast, but on again, he comes out, tries to do a Superman punch to clear his area. When I think he might have been able to do something else. It falls obviously to a Burnley player who I think he spreads out wide, and the ball comes into Goodmanson, who takes a shot, and he actually hits the post via a deflection. And I think from that, after the resulting corner, Lascelles clears, and eventually there's a free kick for Dubravka getting impeded. But it's like I'm flogging the same old dead horse with regards to Dubravka and this catching the ball lock. Now, I mean, in this case, there was a group of players, and especially when you bear in mind what happened to Pope with the goal, do you reckon that was the right move to just come out with his old Clark Kent there?
Yeah, I can't remember thinking it was a terrible thing. So you've just got a grudge against Dubravka, haven't you?
Oh, I love the man. I think he's a lot better than Darlow in goal. Didn't get us wrong, but if there is something I would definitely highlight about his game that's lacking, it's the ability to catch the ball. I mean, if he hasn't even got to catch it, you can just waft it into space. At least then it's sort of out of danger. We can sort of reset ourselves. We can kind of come out. We can push out. But he punches it and it went straight to Burnley, and that was almost a goal. I mean, that was probably the closest Burnley had came. After all, they did hit the bar. So yeah, again, more warning signs. I was starting to think, this isn't going to be our day. We're not getting any free kicks. They've been close at least 3 times already. We've done that really. And shortly after that, around about the 20th minute, Corney again gets a header on a goal. This time Dubravka feels like he wants to save it, so he does his proper little TV save. Like that, it's like slow motion diving and pouncing on like a cat or something. There's no need for it. You could just stood there and went, aye. But no, you had to do a beautiful kind of like sideways slow motion catch. At least he didn't punch it or palm it out into somebody else's feet. 21st minute, we actually get up the pitch, and Miggy has a shot at goal that I think it was so high over the bar, it's probably still over in the earth right now. I think it bounced off the moon. It just went woo straight up and over, absolutely miles away. But at least he was in a position to take a shot, so at least there was that. And then on the 20th minute, there's a 1-2 between Willock and Lewis down the left wing, in alongside the goal area. Basically, it spills out, or it's actually rather passed out to say Maxi, who runs along the box and then does that beautiful little right-footed dink over the whole of the defence, right into a on-running Wilson. And you're thinking, oh, here we go. Here's Wilson. It's the first chance at goal. It's basically just him and the keeper. But at the time, I actually thought he air kicked it. I thought he kind of just completely missed it. But when I watched it back, he has actually got his foot to it. I don't think he had too much of a contact on it. I think he kind of, sort of slightly wafted at it. But he was under a kind of bit of pressure from Taylor, who also managed to get a block in as well. What were your thoughts on that chance there, Craig?
It wasn't as clear cut as it first made out, like you said. I think it was good defending from Taylor, which is a shame because he was throwing himself around like a freaking dolphin all game. But it was a half chance and no more than that. Maybe if he had the extra yard to where he's left, he could have got a bit better contact. But no, I think it was just good defending.
But what about that ball from St. Maximin, though? I mean, that was just super.
I have the vision to do that. It reminded me of, I don't even remember, Rob Lee's chip ball pass to Craig Bellamy when we beat Villa 3-0.
Villa, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, very, very similar. You just chipped it over and then Bellamy smashed it past Schmeichel. Very, very similar build-up. And it just reminded me of that play virtually straight away. But that's the type of thing Alan can do. He can unlock stuff that nobody else can see. He's just got that secret key.
And he was really our main attacking threat, you'd have to say as well, for pretty much the first half. Really, he's really having a good go at the money. I was nodding away there to that whole Villa memory, but I can't remember shit about that, to be honest with you.
I was going to say, do you know how long ago that was?
No,
that was 20 years ago. If you want to feel even older than you already are, that was 20 years ago.
20 years, Jesus Christ.
I was knocking on the town then, man. I should be able to remember these things, but I think I've killed half my brain cells, to be honest with you. Did you get a bit excited with that one, Jack? Were you kind of screaming or pushing or something?
It was the first real moment of attacking quality from us, from our perspective. So I think that's why St. Maximin's in the team, because he can do that. And it was a really good block. I think it was a really good defensive block. But at least it was like signs of life, because I think up to that point we'd been quite nervy and quite anxious. Maybe understandably because of the magnitude of the game, but that was a really nice attack and a kind of a sign that we weren't that we did have something about us and we had something to get excited about.
Got everybody on their feet as well, didn't it? Because most of the game to that point, as I said earlier, there had basically been Burnley doing all kinds of dirty tricks, getting every decision from the officials, I mean, the crowd were magnificent. Don't get us wrong. Even the best crowds, after a certain amount of time, will start to get a bit restless when shit's going against them, you know. And I really think that gave us a bit of a boost, actually. It kind of just went, oh, Howe, man, you know, we can do this. Maybe that was the turning point, actually, now I think about it. So that was 28 minutes. Not much again in between 28 and 38 when the next event happened. Again, it's St. Maxi. Lovely little move down the left. He does that little dink he likes to do towards the byline, makes a little bit of space, crosses it through to Miggy. I think this is one where it goes over the crowd a bit, and I might have took a deflection from St. Maxi, I can't remember, but it goes over the whole crowd of defenders and attackers, and there's Miggy kind of on the far post, and he's facing away from goal, if I remember rightly, and so he gets the ball, the crowd's on their feet, they're like, "How are Miggy?" And he sort of does a swivel turn, takes a kick, and it actually hit Tarkovsky's left arm, because he was coming into the slide, I think. It hit his left arm, it was tucked in, but he had like a trailing right arm as he was kind of going to ground. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking, oh, here we go, penalty. But obviously, this is Newcastle United. We didn't get penalties, do we? What did you make of that? Because, all right, his near arm is obviously tucked in. You can't say anything about that hitting that. And he's not very far away from Miggy either, in fairness. But that second ball, but the deflection from that ball hits his trailing arm, which is kind of sticking right out. Do you reckon that was like a legit call for penalty? Because I don't think the VAR did even a check on that. I can't remember.
I think it was like a bit like the Arsenal one the other week, where it was kind of. I don't really remember shouting that much for it, so I don't think, maybe because of how close it was to him, I don't think it was. And the players didn't really appeal either. It wasn't like Gilmore's for Norwich, where everyone screamed and ran towards the ref straight away.
I mean, Miggy didn't do out. Tarkovsky kind of is all sort of smiles and laughing, and I think he picks him up, doesn't he, Miggy?
Yeah,
they're going to be teammates soon enough, so he doesn't want to piss anybody off. You know? What do you reckon, Craig? Do you think it was a shout there at all?
I think there was a shout, but I do think it was the right decision again. The ball, he hasn't moved his hand in the direction of the ball. The ball's hit his hand, and it's come off another deflection as well. So the reaction time for him to do anything about that, there's nothing in it. It would have been very harsh to be given. If that had been given against us, I would have been raging, to be honest.
Aye, fair enough. You know, I just thought, I did wonder if his arm was, because it was out from his body and sort of sticking outwards, that it could be considered as a unnatural position. But, you know, I don't know how many people fall to the ground with their arms tucked in, to be honest with you. So, you know, maybe you're right, especially when you're kind of trying to stick your leg out and that, you need balance and so on, don't you? And it did hit his arm first anyway. That was definitely tucked in. So, yeah, all right, fair enough. Just me desperate for a penalty, I guess. Didn't matter, though. Didn't matter, lads, because it was the moment we'd all been waiting for. 39 minutes. It was actually a fairly innocuous shit almost cross-in from Willock from the left wing. And Popes came out to try and claim it, and he's getting his two hands on it. He's jumped in there, he's claimed it. I don't know what Fabian Schär's doing there. I don't think Schär jumped or anything like that. He just sort of seemed to be standing there.
I don't think he knew Pope was there.
Well, I mean, I don't think Pope knew he was there, right? So Pope's he's grabbed the ball, he's sort of started to go forwards over the top of Schär, who's, as you can imagine, he's kind of starting to bend over now under the immense weight of a goalkeeper on his back. Pope drops the ball. I'm still not quite sure why that was. I guess he must have hit his arm against Schär or something like that. If you look at it from the reverse angle, you've got Wilson. He's sort of watching what's the play develop. He's not very far away, obviously. He's sitting like that. He's watching. His eyes are on the ball and never takes his eyes off the ball. He sees the ball hit the ground. His tongue instantly jumps into the side of his mouth. He's like, "Oh, here we go!" And he runs onto the loose ball. He's probably the only person who actually reacted at that point, I think. It takes a slight touch to take the ball away from the crowd of players. It gives him a bit of time to think about it, set himself a little bit. And then he does this fantastic, beautiful goal where he plants his left foot, I think, and then he sort of swivels and side foots it almost with a bit of power into the far corner of the goal. There's a man on the line. I think it was Chris Woods, who was probably taking notes on how to score goals at this point. The crowd goes absolutely mental. Me, you, Craig, and Bobby were diving around like absolute idiots at, whatever time that was, probably, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the morning or something, trying to be quiet but making a shit ton of noise for everybody in the park block, for me anyway. We're all gone mental. We've got the 1-0 goal. How did you feel at the time, Craig?
Genuinely, it's hard to describe because it was a goal that meant so much. It wasn't just like any other goal in any other game, because looking back on it now, it was the goal that got us the 3 points. But at the time, it was just a cracking finish and admiration of the finish. It was Shearer-esque almost, and praise doesn't get much higher than that, if you ask me.
No, we were talking about how good it was for about 5 minutes clear after that goal, weren't we? We were just going, what an amazing goal that was. And it was on and on about how good a goal it was, you know. But obviously, we were just totally elated. How did you feel, Jack? I imagine you were rather pleased.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think, first of all, I thought it was going to be a free kick. So not because I thought it was one, but because I think usually when the goalkeeper drops the ball and there's a opposing player there, it usually is pulled up for a free kick. So I think Shaw might have actually known what he was doing a little bit, and he's kind of backed into him a little bit. And he's obviously got the world-class assist off his shoulder or off his head or something like that, and it's fault of Wilson. And actually what you've said there, Craig, about the sort of comparison with Shearer, it sounds quite like a massive thing to say, but he does really have similarities, you know, Wilson. He's got those leadership skills. He's just a really good striker, you know. He leads the line brilliantly. He encourages players around him, and you just really trust him that he's going to score goals. You know, he scored so many important goals for us. He's rescued that point against Crystal Palace. He scored his penalty against Norwich, and that was just a really good finish. I think he, in his interview afterwards, he was saying that he knew he had to lift it because Burnley had three big, and there's a still photo of the chance where there's like three big Burnley players for him to beat, and he just did it brilliantly. And I think, you know, he's been a little bit quieter in recent weeks, Wilson, but he's been overshadowed by Joe Linton a little bit in his performance. But, you know, he just gives confidence to the rest of the team, and I think he's such a valuable player, and he's just at the right sort of peak age for a striker as well. So I think the comparisons with Shearer, obviously, he's never going to score that volume of goals, but his importance to Newcastle is absolutely massive, and it is imperative that he stays fit for the rest of this season. I think we've got a much better chance of getting out of trouble if he does.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a key point, isn't it? Hopefully we'll do something in January, but I mean, strikers always carry a premium anyway. I mean, not that we should be any more worried about money so much, but yeah, we do need a bit of backup for the guy. I mean, I remember when he scored that goal, actually, he just sort of like, you know, does that like sort of slow gallop thing that he does. He's like, yeah, I'm in. All the crowd's going absolutely berserk, you know. But then at the end of the game, I noticed he was actually proper pumped. He was like, you know, he was pumping the air, he was jumping up and down. He was like, woo, I'm in to score, we won. So he's definitely got that passion in him. I think at the time he probably just realised that there was a long second half still to go. And especially given how much Burnley had chances and fluffed them, he was probably thinking like the rest of us, like, all right, lads, didn't bars it up, you know. We've got 40 minutes to get through here, didn't stuff it. But it was a beautiful goal. Actually, if you look at the replay as well, just coming back to what you said, Jack, you know, VAR took forever looking at this. It seems like VAR just want to take forever on anything to do with us. That might give us an advantage. And everybody else just gets like a flick of the wrist and off they go. Bit of conspiracy there for you. But if you watch the
put your tinfoil hat away.
If you watch the replay, aside from Shaw, there's actually a hand on Pope's back from the cells, and so everyone was focusing on Shaw, and then you see this replay, and I thought, oh fuck, VAR's gonna rule it out, not because of Shaw necessarily, but because the cells had a hand on his back, and it kind of looks like, because Pope's moving away from goal and Lascelles are sort of following him, it almost looks a bit like he's giving him a shove, you know. I mean, Pope was proper whinging afterwards at the ref. The ref's like, "I know, man, we're waiting for VAR," and he's like, "How man? Do us a favour." A bit like a Joe Hart special, you know, where he knows he's been beaten all ends up, but he goes and have a whinge, and then more times than not, like that Toyota goal, he'll get rolled off, you know. Bloody wankers. Anyway, so that's 1-0. Crowd's going mental. We're all pretty happy with it, and then almost brought thumping back to earth on 46, or not that long after the goal, when I call him Hydra, but it's not pronounced Hydra, is it? It's Vidra. He's on for Cornet, who's went off injured. I think he had a thigh strain or something like that, if I remember rightly from the game. Very happy to see him go off, by the way. So Hydra's on for Cornet. He's found in absolute acres at our right fullback position. it's a cross-field sort of cross, but he's just standing there by himself. And if you watch the replay, Manquilo's sort of like dawdling along from like the halfway line, sort of thinking about what he's going to have for dinner after the game. He's absolutely nowhere near where he should have been. He takes on so the ball comes in high. He takes it on his chest, and he takes a swing with his right foot, and it goes right out the bar, if I remember rightly. The only thing I can say good about that situation was that Shaw had actually tracked back, and I think he must have put the guy under pressure. I'm not going to say his name. Must have put the guy under pressure, and I think that probably resulted in him snapping up the shot, rather than actually taking his time to maybe even bring it down, have another touch, because he was in absolute bloody acres. And then aside from a Willock miss, from yet more good work from St. Maxi, now in the 48 minutes, that was basically the first half. We've got the lead, but you'd have to say Burnley had their chances. I mean, it wasn't wasn't a walk in the park for us. That 1-0 was pretty hard fought for. I think you'd have to agree.
I think going back to that, the Cornet injury was massive because he's good and he's in good form, and he offers them something different. So I think if that was Cornet that was on that end of that chance that Vidra missed, I think it would have been a different story. So it was those 10 minutes really between him going off and our goal, I think, really swung it, because we weren't particularly good up to then. At half time we only had 66% passing accuracy, so that really shows, and we had 48% possession, so that shows like we were struggling, especially for the first half, the first sort of quarter of the game. So we just got that bit of luck, and we deserved it. Like we had Cornet going off, and we had Wilson that not being a free kick when probably usually would be, even though it wasn't one. So we had that bit of luck that we needed, and we haven't had that lately, and it made all the difference. So, it was massive 10 minutes.
Yeah, just think those stats you mentioned there. I mean, one thing you will say about Burnley is that they have this just uncanny knack to make the opposition play their game of football, which is usually just shithousing the whole day.
They just drag teams down to their level.
Shithousing, or just launching it from goalkeeper to attackers and completely
like a modern day
bypassing.
Bolton. Remember, Bolton Wanderers used to do it all the time. Very physical, getting in with the tackle and everything. Remember Arsene Wenger saying years ago, that the one team he hated playing against was Bolton, because they just would not let you play your style of football. And Burnley are just a modern day version of them.
You'd have to say Stoke were a bit like that back in the day as well. Proper, shithouse team. But I mean, I wonder, just as an aside here, I wonder how much that's going to impact Burnley if Cornet is, crocked for a bit of time there. Because what we don't need is people like Burnley and Norwich and Watford picking up points. And if their main man's got a bit of a knock, that could be good news for us. I don't know if anyone's seen any update on any of that kind of side.
I haven't seen it, but you're right. It's going to be a big deal for us if he's not fit. But Burnley somehow still always seem to do this, and they always seem to get a few wins and pull clear. So I wouldn't be remotely surprised if they did, and somebody like maybe even Brentford or maybe Leeds sort of came down a bit, or Everton potentially. Yeah, so I wouldn't be altogether surprised if Burnley did shithouse the way out of it, as they seem to do for the last 10 years.
One of the biggest things for Burnley is, are they going to keep a hold of Tarkowski?
No, I've already said 3 times he's our player, man.
Not when we slapped 50 million on the table for him.
Oh, he wouldn't do that, though. Isn't he about 30-year-old or something?
28, 29, I think.
He's out of contract in this summer, so...
Aye.
But it depends how serious this thing about Premier League clubs not selling their players to us. You can imagine Burnley won't want to sell them to us, but money talks, doesn't it? So if we're going to throw money at it...
Comment after the game?
No.
Yeah.
No, he gave an interview, I think it was to Sky Sports, whoever was broadcasting in the UK. Basically turned around and said, St. James's Park, they've got a massive following up here. The fans are fantastic. Everybody's aware of the current situation with the new owners. So he's literally talking himself into the team already.
Putting himself in the shop window.
Exactly, aye.
Half the league will be thinking the same thing, man.
Probably, aye.
All right, so that was the first half. So we had a long bloody 45 minutes to get through, like, basically, didn't we? We've done all the hard work. Plenty of opportunities for Burnley to have really cocked up our day, but it was 1-0 half time. So anyway, coming into the second half, again, pretty much a nothing first 5 minutes or so. On about 52 minutes, there's a cross from Westwood, and there was like a clattering of, I think Wilson went clattering into the upright, if you remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was into the far upright post. He was tracking back, I think, doing a bit of like Shearer-esque defending. There was a Burnley player involved as well, and he kind of went into the post. I think he did his back in. I think later on he did his other side of his back as well. Yeah, so that was a bit of excitement, and that ball could have basically went anywhere at that point. But the game was stopped and it got underway eventually. Dubravka on 54 gave it a massive launch to Wilson, and he fed that beautiful through ball, if you remember it, through to Miggy, who had ran on, and he was right in the middle between splitting the defenders. And that's the thing about it. Shearer always used to be able to do that as well. He always had a quality pass on him when he wasn't in the position where he should have been, basically. But that ball was absolutely beautifully weighted. It's a shame. It's kind of almost a shame it went to Miggy. I mean, we all want him to score, but like anyone else in that position probably would have had a better chance of hitting the target. But
I don't think it was a shot. I thought it was a fantastic save.
I was going to say, he got his shot away and it went kind of across the face of the goal, didn't it? And it wasn't that far away from the upright at the end of the day. I mean, he had
the keeper got a very, it was a brilliant save. He got a very light touch to it. But sent it wide, and we got a corner. I think it was. It was a really brilliant save. But yeah, it's that kind of end product with Miggy, isn't it? You just, if he could produce that a bit more often, it'd be worth 20, 30 million more because he's got other attributes.
They'd be very welcome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Then on 78, so that was 54, and then not much happens in the middle. There's one or two little things, but not really anything worth mentioning. 78 minutes, Shelvey does a Shelvey special, does one of those kind of curling, rangy, sort of almost looks like a corner, but it's actually a shotgun in the top corner. But I think Pope had it covered the whole way. He gets his hand to it anyway. It doesn't go in, but I think, again, there wasn't all that much space left, for the ball to go in. And I think even if I had pushed it slightly out to the wide, I think Pope would have had that covered. And that was a result of about six or so corners in a row, if you remember. It was just corner after corner after corner. And I said on the live stream, Craig, if you remember, like, how good was it to sit there watching us trying to see out a game in the opposition's half? Like, Newcastle tends to do that in their own half, and they kind of did it in this game as well, actually, where they just sit back, invite pressure, inevitably balls it up at some point, and then we'll end up a bit like they did at Norwich, end up losing the lead or lose the game altogether. But it was lovely to see that the whole 4, 5, 6 corners in a row from just constant pressure, especially at that late stage in the game.
Yeah, you could feel it, and you could see that the crowd were getting into it, and it was kind of building into like a crescendo, really. And I just thought we need to score here because there's so much pressure. Burnley defenders are absolutely exhausted. They were just getting it anywhere they could for that period of time. And I just really felt if we don't score here, we could really regret it because, 2-0 then would have been absolutely game over. Burnley would not have it in them to come back from that. So it was that thing about the crowd again, just to see the crowd really backing that, because like I said previously, everyone was just so desperate for us to win that game and to score goals. So it was a powerful thing watching that actually at the time. Yeah, it was just a shame we couldn't score them, but luckily it didn't. Didn't bite us in the end.
It didn't bite us in the arse. Was there something you wanted to say there, Craig?
Yeah, Miggy had another chance shortly after that one where he was just inside the 18-yard box he was at the right-hand side of the goal. He tried to curl in the top left. I think the keeper was beaten, but I think it was Tarkowski that it wasn't cleared off the line, but if he wasn't there, it was going in. I know everybody else in the stadium thought it was going in as well. But again, good positional play from Tarkowski.
Yeah, he'll do well in the back four, I reckon. So that was 78, that one. 83 minutes. Chris Wood spreads out this lovely ball to Westwood. And Westwood, first time, crosses it to Rodriguez. This is all down our left, if I remember rightly. 83rd minute. Who would actually manage to find about half a yard on the cells. And he gets the ball in the back of the net. And we're thinking, friggin' hell, here we're going. 83 minutes. We've done all that hard graft this second half. It's been basically Bernie's shithouse tactics the whole damn day, launching over midfield. We've seen them up until this point. And here they're going, just like Norwich, score a goal in 83 minutes. But it was offside.
No, I think the linesman gave it quite quickly, so that it was quite. So it wasn't like that painful wait, and it was obviously was a little bit offside, but when he came on, the commentator said that he hadn't scored any goals in his last 23 Premier League games. So obviously, like when a commentator says something like that, you're like, just shut up,
United.
You know what's going to happen. But yeah, he was clearly offside. But yeah, it was just that it just preceded a really horrible 10, 15 minutes or so towards the end of the game where we were just so desperate.
Nobody was going to be surprised there. The whole crowd just kind of sunk, and then they saw the flag up, and they were all like, "Get in, dickhead!" Craig, I think I remember you being a bit relieved at the time.
Just a little, some would say. One thing I want to touch on here is the last few games, people have maybe questioned Alan Saint-Maximin's work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to touch on, I think it was just before he got subbed, where he ran from inside his own half, right down to chase the keeper from
Close
maybe
down
whenever it was. And we commented on the live stream, and to see that type of commitment from a player who is probably not been in his best form the last few games, but to see that there just running for the ball, he probably knew it was a dead ball anyway. He was never going to get it. But that level of commitment from any type of player at that stage in the game is just incredible. But yeah, I couldn't fault Saint-Maximin that game. Maybe in the Norwich game, Arsenal game, he was non-existent, but so are a lot of others. But yeah, that type of commitment was just absolutely incredible. And in a way, we're pretty much almost giving him a standing ovation for doing that.
Oh, it was brilliant, man. And you can sometimes see him as a bit of a luxury player, but when he closes down Pope at that sort of time of the game, there you realise what he brings to the team, And I really, there maybe was one or two other things that happened after that, but it was all kind of back and forwards, up and down over the defence and back again and all that kind of stuff. So basically, we managed to see the game out. It got to I think it was 4-6 minutes extra time.
4 minutes.
We're all puckering on our seats, kind of like, you can hear the crowd. They're all like screaming for the whistle, and it looks like Burnley were going to make this one last move, when the referee gives them just one more chance, sort of thing, and you're thinking, oh no, I didn't do it now, and they managed to. I think it was Lewis who actually tracked back from almost the centre of the pitch, and he tracked all the way back to his position and cleared the ball, and with that, up went the referee's whistle. The crowd go absolutely mental. Me and you and Bobby on the stream, mate, we're diving all around the place, Craig, and we're all like, "Oh, get in!" I think it was more. I mean, it was obviously great to see the win, but it was a large part relief as well. You'd have to say.
Oh
yeah.
The crowd was just magnificent. I mean, I don't know the last time we won a game. I mean, just in general, but the last time we actually won a game when the crowd stay back. It was almost like that Spurs game when we were trying to get Rafa to stay, But the whole crowd, it seemed, for a good 5 or 10 minutes, well, maybe not 10, but good 5 minutes anyway, were just in their seats, on their feet, singing away, absolutely loving it. Eddie Howe went mental on the line, he's giving the old fisty pumps and that, and all the players are loving it out on the field. How did you feel at the end of that, Jack?
Oh, it was just relief mainly. It was just massive relief. So we needed it. I think we've all said we really needed it. We needed it for the points, for the confidence, and yeah, it was just a massive victory. So let's just hope we can build on that moving forward, because we've got a lot to build on and a lot to work with now, I think, which you couldn't have said 2 months ago.
No.
Oh, yeah, God, no. I mean, it's obviously the perfect result going away to Leicester in the next game. I know we beat them 4-1, I think it was, or 4-2, whatever it was last season, but you don't these days typically expect to get much from a Leicester team. I think you made the point, Craig, that they're not doing all that great this season, or maybe it was Bobby. But nonetheless, if you haven't won a game, it doesn't matter how bad the other team is, you're still going to be shitting yourself for the 90 minutes, aren't you? But I hope that gives them a really massive boost. Obviously, they took a picture afterwards in the changing rooms. The whole team, all the kit men, everybody involved in the whole bloody day squad essentially was there. Even the players who didn't play, everyone had a massive smile on their face. They're all like, hugging together. It was just a brilliant photograph, wasn't it? You see the little ice, the ice bath like you mentioned there, Jack, in the the blue ice bath.
The high-tech ice bath, yeah. But I don't know. I was wondering before, has anyone's job ever improved so much by a change of manager as the Newcastle United social media, whoever runs that account? Because previously they would tweet things and everyone would just be swearing at them, telling them to fuck off and everything.
Yeah.
But now I was banned from there. I was banned from commenting on the account at one point. I must have said something
Really?
out of turn at one stage, yeah. But now, like, they're putting content on, and it's just brilliant. They put a 3.5 minute video from the full-time whistle, and there's no commentary or anything. It's just from the full-time whistle where the players and Eddie Howe and his coaching staff are doing the kind of like a mini lap of honour.
Yeah.
And it's just so powerful because it just shows Newcastle United, and we haven't had that for so long. And people don't understand why Newcastle fans are celebrating winning the first game of the season as if we've won the league or something.
Yeah.
But it's because it's in the context of the last 15 years where we haven't had any hope, and now we do have hope. And all it takes is that video, and it's just so emotive, and it just gets everybody so excited and enthused for what's happening at the club at the moment. So even though on the outside it looks like we're second bottom of the league and we're still odds on for relegation, there's just so much hope now, and it's just makes all the difference.
Oh, it's great to see a united Newcastle, isn't it? I mean, we did have a bit of hope under Rafa, obviously. That was kind of cruelly taken away from us when he wasn't given what he wanted.
And it was always tempered by the fact that it's Mike Ashley. So we knew, I think we knew deep down, really deep down, that it was not going to work out, with Rafa, because he wasn't going to stand for working for a club like that. And that's so it proved in the end. But, there's a lot of unknowns at the moment, I think, but we've got that passion back, and that hope that things are going to get better. And it's just, that video really just hit the mark for me. I think it was absolutely brilliant piece of PR and just a brilliant thing to put on.
Especially for us over here, where we don't get to, obviously we used to sit in the stands, and you can see all that stuff and you're part of the history of it there and then. But obviously over here, you don't have that. So to actually, it's almost like a behind the scenes, kind of like here's a little reveal of stuff going on that you wouldn't have seen on the TV. Because on Optus, we watched it on Optus, and as soon as that game was finished, I was like, right, that's 1-0, and just cut straight to some bloody highlights of some other game. And you're thinking, Jesus, not even like a post interview from Eddie or the players. No, barely any replay of the goal. I mean, it was really harsh. So that kind of, it's like goal dust man getting that, isn't it? Again, it gives you a bit of connection back to what the days used to be. Craig, did you want to add anything to that? How you felt at the end? Listen to the crowd singing away, players doing a lap. Appreciation.
When I was watching the video that Jack just mentioned there, to be honest, I watched that back. I think it was early that morning when I woke up, and it'd been retweeted however many times. And generally watching it back, I got a little bit emotional because I'm thinking, I would have loved to have been there for that game, as we all would have been.
Mm-hmm.
It would just been something else, and it's something that we all miss collectively. Obviously, or else we wouldn't be doing this. But those are the days we long for as fans, and it's been far too long before we've had any type of hope, any type of outlook in terms of brightness or anything. And it might not happen this year, it might not happen next year, but the future is bright for us, and bring it on.
I've literally just looked at Twitter and I can see Bobby's tweeted the Sports Direct signs are being pulled down. I've seen James.
You heard it here first. It's an exclusive.
Yeah, that's one of the massive things that's still been. We've all just been desperately waiting for that. So
ceremonial burning on the town or other.
Yeah. So I wasn't expecting that right now. So good on you, Bobby. Thanks very much.
Fantastic. Amanda will be happy about that. She had a bit of a whinge about it, didn't she? Again, good PR. Nobody likes them signs. I do hope someone made the point a while ago, and I do agree with it. I do hope they put the Newcastle United back to the non-italic version, just because there's an obvious association between Sports Direct, and I don't think anyone wants to be looking at going, we used to have Sports Direct there. Now you want to have something that just kind of completely makes a break from that. So that's breaking news. That's good news. That
and it doesn't take much to get Newcastle fans excited these days, does it?
Taking those signs. Woo! Howe!
Come on.
Right, so that was the end of the game. We've chatted on quite a lot longer on that than I expected us to. So I'm going to go quickly through these stats. At the end, it was 48 to 52% in possession in Burnley's favour. They must be counting the time it was in the air as well. 12 to 10 shots on goal, but 4 of them were Newcastle on target, whereas only 1 was from Burnley. 10 10 corners to 3 in our favour, and there was 11 fouls from Newcastle to 9 fouls from Burnley, which doesn't seem right to me, if you ask me. Those stats are from...
Many of them were on Taylor.
Those stats are from the BBC. So quickly, man of the match, I think I said on the stream, but Big J Linton for me. He was... What a change that guy's had since Eddie's came in. You know, he must be a confidence player or something, but he's been brilliant. He was all over the pitch. He was non-stop, a bit like Miggy. He was defending. He was breaking up play. I don't think he had much in the way of a goal threat, but I don't know if that's because perhaps he was a little bit deeper than he might have otherwise been. I'm not sure about that. Maybe Jack's got an idea on that. In fact, I'll come to you, Jack. What do you think about that? And also, who was your man of the match?
I think Joe Linton's never going to have too much of a goal threat. I think maybe Eddie Howe's turning him into a different player, and that's fine. I think he's still got his uses, and he's going to be a very, very valuable player. And it's just been an amazing transformation for him. Probably man of the match, probably between him. I think Lewis played really well. I think he's nailed that position down for himself now, which is good because we don't want Richie playing at left back anymore. But for me, I think Wilson, just for his goal and his leadership and his all-round performance and the confidence he brings to the rest of the team, I think he's our most important player at the moment. I think he was man of the match.
Probably had a few, actually. There's obviously St. Maxi. What do you reckon, Craig?
Again, I go with Big Joe. We didn't really talk about him. I don't even mention him at all during the whole breakdown of the game.
It's true.
But he was always there. And I don't know if anyone's seen his heat map of the game, but he covered every blade of glass twice over. And I've never seen such a transformation from one player going from one manager to another. It's like he's a different player altogether. Who would have thought we had that player there ready to do that type of stuff? Break play down, make an impact in terms of going forward, albeit he's not going to be the greatest goal scorer in the world, but he's having an impact, and that's all we can ask. And Lewis as well. I said at the end of the game, I thought he had a very solid game. He went under the radar because a few other players maybe overshadowed him, but he was probably most of our solid defender. Because a lot of the play came down that left-hand side of his, and he handled very, very well. And again, it's only his second full 90 minutes in, 4 or 5 months, domestically anyway.
Yeah, you'll probably have some sterner tests down the road, with better opposition. So we'll see how he cracks on with that. But it's just nice to have a player in the position. I mean, Matt Ritchie does not want to. Anyway, we've covered that at length. We don't want Matt Ritchie down that bloody left full-back position. So I'm just going to quickly show the table. There's only one. There we go. There's the table. So the Mighty Mags no longer bottom of the table on goal difference. I'll take it. So, I mean, amazingly, we're actually only, you'd say 3, but we're really 4 points clear, given that goal difference from safety from Watford after such a pretty shit start the season, I have to say. It's not looking too bad, is it?
No.
I think I saw somebody was talking on Twitter about how we're in a mini league, really. I think you can probably go up as far as Brentford. And we need to finish 4th bottom of the table, but that's where we need to finish in that mini league. So that's 8 teams. We need to finish 5th in that. 9 teams. We need to finish 5th in that 9-team league, and I think we're more than capable of doing that.
Well, we've got the confidence. Let's hope we've got the confidence from that win. Everton are in free fall. Craig said a while ago that there's always one team that falls right to the bottom. I still don't think it'll be them. If nothing else, they might just get rid of Rafa. But there again, I don't even think they can afford to do that.
Tell you one thing that is very interesting. The bottom 6 teams, the bottom 3 have picked up the most points over the last 5 games. So that has closed the gap down. And like Jack said, it's now turned into a little mini league. It's literally from Brentford downwards. It's anybody's time to fuck it up, let's say. And it's up to us to capitalise on that situation and move up that table.
We've picked up 7 points from Eddie Howe's 4 games. So if we can do that over the course, I'm sure we'll be fine. I know we've had some of the on paper easier games at home, but yeah, I'm confident now that we will be able to get out of this. I think I've seen enough to think we will. I just want to talk briefly as well about Eddie Howe, because I don't know what I expected from him, really. I was worried that he wouldn't have the character before he got the job, that he would have the character to be able to handle a job of this profile. But I've talked previously about Newcastle needing a manager who's got some gravitas and who's got something about them, who's got the character to be able to handle it. And he has got that in spades. And I didn't think necessarily he would have. He says all the right things. He's clearly a really good coach. And he's got that attention to detail, but he seems to just, I don't know whether he's got PR, but he's got like PR firms working for him or something, but he just seems to say the right things, and that shouldn't matter as much as it does, maybe, especially in Newcastle, which is a big one club city and it dominates the news cycle. But Eddie Howe seems to have really tapped into what is needed to get that support, and I think that is such a massive asset for him to have. And I'm just so impressed by how he's done.
Yeah, and
even if we did end up sort of losing this relegation battle in the end, I still think, from what I've seen so far, I think there's a long way to go. But I would say he would be the right man. I think he just seems to understand what the club needs at this moment in time, and he seems to just say the right things at the right time. And I think he's a big part of the reason for that unity and that real, that united front that we've got going at the moment. And I think he has fostered that brilliantly. So I just really hope that he can keep on that trajectory, because I've been so impressed. I think he's brilliant.
I think a large part of it is that he's not a bullshitter. We've gone from a number one bullshitting cabbage head who would never. He would come up with the standard cliches all the time. He would never really take. He never took really any blame for anything that I can remember. And even if he did, I don't think anyone would care, because he was just so universally unliked. I think part of it is that Eddie Howe is a student of the game, evidently, and Rafa was the same. So if nothing else, you kind of get the feeling that he's going to have a good idea about what he's doing. Again, not the same with Cabbage. He kind of, honestly, I couldn't tell you what the hell that bloke did. And I think part of it as well is just relief that it isn't Cabbage. I think there's definitely, a manager bounce going on right now. The fans can see it in the players. The fans are getting really excited about the fact that we're starting to look like an actual team for once this season. And it's been wonderful to see the fans actually give them all the backing. We have been such a fractured fan base for such a long time that I kind of half expected a lot of people to be, well, we're the richest people in the universe. Why aren't we going out and getting Pep or someone else like that? Because we can definitely afford it. That's kind of what I was expecting from certain quarters, and maybe that's going on actually. But I haven't really seen a lot of it. What I have seen is a lot of people excited to see Eddie in charge, and really responding to what they see on the pitch. Craig, any thoughts on Eddie Howe?
Yeah, I love the fact that when I don't know if he got sacked at Bournemouth or whether he just called it quits. Not too sure.
He resigned.
He resigned.
Mutual consent.
Yeah, I think whichever it was. But I love the fact he didn't stay dormant. He just didn't take time off, whatever. He went scouting to the managers. I think he went to Atletico in Spain, and he spent a bit of time over there, just seeing how they do stuff on the continent, the way they positional play, just overall tactics and everything like that. And I think the fact that he's done that, it's broadened his horizon as a manager. I think he said that in an interview as well. He says he's a football man through and through. And even though he's not part of the game where he's on the TV or sideline, whatever, he's always thinking about it in the back of his mind. And I just think that shows. He is one hell of a tactician, to the point where he can get players in the mentality very similar to what past players have said about Sir Bobby. I don't know if you've seen the picture of Eddie Howe when you were sending Miggy on against, I think it was Norwich. He had his hands on his head and everything. He was talking to him, trying to get his mind focused and everything like that. I just could not see Steve Bruce doing that at all. You just probably give him a pat in the arse and say, go do what you need to do, mate. There was no motion. There's no way of trying to progress that player physically and mentally, getting them prepared for the game. And I think he's just a breath of fresh air, and long may he continue with the club.
Who knew Geordies don't like Southerners, do they? Apparently.
We bloody
You
love
know,
Southerners. We don't like people
with
telling us that we don't like Southerners.
and with Newcastle managers, so we've had like Alan Pardew was reasonably successful with us, but he was just a bit of a bellend, you know, and like that matters. That matters for Newcastle United. We want the manager to be someone that we can identify with and that is personable and that we can like and get behind. You know, Allardyce had the same problem. He was never going to be, and Bruce, he was never going to be kind of. It's right. He was never going to be kind of popular just because of his personality and the way that he talked the job down, and they talk about the pressures if it's a bad thing, but Eddie Howe's really taken his time, and he's chosen this job as much as we chose him, and I think it's just such a really good match, and I'm just really excited for what the future holds with him, and I think he's so responsible for everything positive at the club at the moment. I'm just so pleased to have him.
Yeah,
it reminds me a little bit of when Chris Hughton was in charge. We didn't have the best squad of players, but he had them playing for him, and he had them playing for the badge on the front, not the name on the back. And that, to me, makes an absolute difference.
Yeah, and he's also quite young. You know, he's going to have that youthful kind of exuberance. He's going to have the will to find out new ideas and change things. I mean, on the 90th minute, I don't know if you saw him, but he was fucking ballistic. He was screaming at someone in the midfield. I don't know who it was, but he's like going, "Get over there! Get over there, you! Get over there!" And he went on for like 2 or 3 minutes. It was on like 90th minute, man. The guy's got, as you say, he's probably chosen us as much as the other way around. He obviously knows what a job he's landed here. Turned down Celtic, I think, if I understand rightly, but he knows that he's got a hell of a potential, I suppose you'd have to say, in this role. And so far, so good. So let's just move quickly on. In other news, apparently it's been reported that the I'm gonna have to pronounce this. Emanalo?
Good one, Michael Emanalo.
For the director of football, he has apparently turned it down, but then Gudusi came onto Twitter to say that he wasn't actually offered the job in the first place, which I think is just a game of semantics, frankly. We haven't got much time here, Jack, but very quickly, what do you think about that actual game of semantics, if you like? And one of my concerns is that the new owners seem quite keen to jump onto social media and have their voices heard at the slightest report. I mean, I know they're brand new and they need to kind of get used to the idea of being an easy target, especially given the background of the finances. But what do you reckon?
I think this is going to happen a lot. So the club is big news, and I think these kinds of stories are going to come out. You've got all these different agendas, agents pushing people, and different people's camps talking about different things. So I think the new ownership are trying to communicate clearly, which is good. You know, we can't complain about no communication for 15 years and then complain when they do communicate. But I agree with you as well, Lee, that they're going to have to just be careful about not responding to every report. This report came out and the journalist was kind of saying, "Oh, if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd be worried about this." Newcastle fans aren't worried about this, you know. 2 months ago, we had Mike Ashley and Steve Bruce. We were worried about things then, but we're not worried about this, you know. Michael Emanalo has got a good track record. He would be seemingly on the face of it a very good appointment, but that's not to say that other people won't be good appointments as well. The managerial, they went for Unai Emery first, and I think we might ultimately have got the best outcome there with Eddie Howe coming in. So it's going to happen. Journalists are going to say stuff, and fans are going to have to be the same as the ownership in a way that just ignore some of it. You know, it's just a load of nonsense. And until something actually happens, let's not think too much about it or get too exercised or wound up about it. I trust that they've got a process and that they'll get the right people in the right positions.
Yeah, and just like that Emery story, we don't want anybody who isn't 100% committed to this job, do we?
Correct.
You know,
Definitely
if they've
not.
got any doubts about it, sling your hook, piss off. We'll go and find someone else. Thank you very much. I think that's the way we should be looking at it. All right, boys, that's been a cracking review of the Burnley game. You can tell we won because we spent like over an hour talking about it. It's been absolutely mint. Newcastle United no longer bottom of the table, give or take a bit of goal difference. So that's it for the review. We have a preview of Leicester coming up end of the week. Is that, Jack? towards the end of the week. You'll be leading that one, I think.
Yeah.
So that game is on. Is that another 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday? I should have checked this.
No, I think it's Sunday. I think it's like
Sunday,
quarter
2
past.
o'clock,
It's 12:15 on Monday morning or something. It's one of those Monday morning games.
Ah, shit. All right.
I thought it's UK time. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff.
Aye.
I thought it's midnight. Yeah.
Midnight.
Aye.
Yeah.
Midnight just before you have to get to bed
Great.
for work. Cheers, Premier League.
Yeah.
So tune in for that if you would, please. Also, please like, comment, subscribe if you've enjoyed what you've listened to or watched today. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter at ToonUnderPod, and we also on ToonUnder.com. That's it, really. Cheers, lads, for the contributions, for the cracking time. Mighty Mags, no longer bottom of the league. The Shite Direct signs are coming down. Eddie's massive mags are on the march. Cheers,
Eddie's
boys.
black and white beauties.
Cheers.